All right, the next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd like to join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment at this time? All right, seeing none, we will move to approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Rod. Supported by Amanda. Thank you, Amanda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Thank you. Motion carries. All right, next item, unfinished business. Revisiting the proposed first amendment to the consent judgment. So we have in our packet some information from the last time we met. My email to Norfolk Homes, to Sean LaFear, a response from Mr. Green. And privilege memo from Attorney Thal. Attorney Thal, do you have anything to add at this time?
Or just say, if you have some discussion with Westchester, they're here, their attorney today, we could, at any time we choose, we can go into closed session if the board wants to discuss the memo, in the matter. So that's always an option. I don't know necessarily how you want to pursue it, but you want to listen to them a bit, and then if you want to go into closed session, go into closed session and make them out, to make some decisions. But the way I just kind of summarize where I think it stands right now is we took action at our last board meeting, kind of unilaterally, to approve the consent, first amendment consent with some revisions to it. And Westchester doesn't agree with those. Mainly two of the things that we discussed. One being the requirement that they build the optional features that were on their site plan. Second being, taking out the funding mechanism for the water system to assure proper pressure within the site. And they don't agree with it, but they also don't want to lose another building season here. So from their letter, as we've seen, we've kind of they feel backed up that either they need to just move forward with their currently approved plan, not the new plan, and then probably litigate over the water system, which, as I understand, their position would be that it was a matter that was approved by the township when we approved the site plan, and essentially then they purchased it later, assuming that our engineers and so forth can approve the project with the proper water pressures throughout the site. That's maybe a rudimentary argument on their part, but that's kind of my basic take. So we have those things, those two issues I think are the main things, asking them to build a swimming pool, clubhouse, walking trails when they don't intend to do that. It's still something that could be built by the association. If it's on the plans, it's optional. It doesn't mean that they intended themselves to build those things. And then, with the water system, are there other possible solutions? I don't think the board, when it came down to it, like the issue of bonding on special assessment. But, it was very open-ended. Maybe, there's some considerations that could be had there. Maybe then hear from.
Yes, that would be wonderful. If you are prepared to say anything today or want to say anything today, that would maybe be a good approach, and then the board can talk and determine if we want to go into closed session or not.
So, yes. Would you like a microphone?
Yes.
I'll get a mic for it. It's recorded, so it's.
Does that work? Okay. I'm Alan Green, counsel for Norfolk. I don't have any prepared comments, but I would say a few things and then we can answer questions. This was a bit frustrating. I just want to tell you guys, there's a long history involving this property. And I know some of it because I'm an old guy and I was involved originally. So Norfolk did not do the original consent judgment. They didn't sue the township. There were two consent judgments, and there was the Hamel consent judgment and Magellan. And it primarily related a lot to the whole sewer and water special assessment issues and things like that. But those consent judgments were entered into, and there were agreements there with respect to water and sewer, and then there were agreements with respect to density and planning for the properties. Norfolk ended up coming in and buying, I think, both those properties. So they were not involved originally. They took the property subject to the consent judgment. I know at some point they came in and changed the plan significantly to make it less dense, actually, if I recall. Took away a lot of the multifamily. There was some commercial. I haven't looked back to refresh my recollection on this. I'm just trying to give you what I remember. So they came back and that was approved, and they started development in that regard. And of course, as you know, the development halted in part because of the sewer issue with Leone Township. We still had some units, another little small phase that we could have developed, but couldn't get approval for sewer. And I will say, and hope you folks appreciate it, that we really worked cooperatively with you during this entire time. It was very frustrating to us. We spent money keeping track of what was going on with Leone. We even thought about suing Leone. We thought about, doing what we could to support you. But while that was all happening, we used the opportunity to make these changes to the plan that are presented to you in the First Amendment, which I think everybody was favorable for. And we've had meetings before for you to look at the plan, slightly increase in density, but mostly a change in the various uses of the property to create a modern mixed-use residential with different products on the same property and products that could appeal to different price points. Because today, between interest rates, construction costs, it's really hard to get housing that, I don't like to use the term affordable because that's like low income housing. We're talking about attainable. That is for any normal working person to be able to afford the housing in a way. So, but along with that from day one was this water issue and I think it came up originally from the township's engineer, in doing an assessment, determined that there was some inadequacies. And the request was made by the township, if I recall, that we're going to need to put in a pump station, okay, in order to handle this. And it was to handle both this property and potentially other properties that could be served by it. So that started this whole process well over a year ago. I don't even know, it could be 2 years ago, about trying to reach an agreement on that, because our view was that that was a flaw in the original design and construction of the water system intended to serve a actually much larger group of homes than what we're proposing. And that water system was built to our property line, I believe. I think it was a 12-inch line that went there. I mean, Sean could talk about the details of that. So that started negotiations where we said, look, we're not going to pay for a pump station. That's really part of the public system, and the township ought to pay for that. And we entered negotiations, and it turned out we proposed that we would donate the land for the pump station, put it on our property. And there were some other terms and conditions, and that was put together in a consent judgment like well over a year ago. We went back and forth on that. It looked like it was something that was going to be acceptable. And then the township came back. When I say came back, it's through your attorney, that no, we really don't want to pay for anything, going out of pocket like this. This is not our responsibility. So we ended up, I think the next stage was that we would front the cost of that, but get a credit against water tap fees up to that amount of money. And so that was discussed, and it seemed to be positive in that regard. And while that was being discussed, our engineers came up with another solution to upgrade the entire water system going through our property. And I think it was put in a 16-inch line. Is that, do I get 8 to a 12? Okay, 8 to a 12 through the development, which added a significant cost of about $600,000 to $700,000 at the time. And we had engineering estimates done, and we gave them to the township. And so the proposal then was, okay, why don't we do this instead of a pump station? It's going to accomplish the same thing as a pump station. We'll still upfront the cost, but get a credit against water tap fees. And in this way, the township wouldn't have to maintain and operate a pump station in the future, the repairs, everything that goes along with it. It would just be part of our underlying sewer system, water system. And we drafted that up. And then we thought that there was an agreement on that. Actually, we did. And then I think there was a board meeting. I reflected in my letter what date it was, where it was reported back to us that the board didn't really want to do that. And then there was a proposal, which actually came from the board, I thought, I mean, it was presented to us about, well, why don't we do this? We would consider giving you a payback agreement to the extent other properties were served in the future by this system. And we would consider a special assessment district. So you'd still be paying for it, but we do it in a way that it would ease the pain so you can pay for it over time, and it would be better for the homeowners as well as the developer to make this project work. So we said, okay, eventually. I mean, we drafted it up. And then I understand it went to a board meeting. Now these are my understandings. We weren't at these board meetings. These are closed sessions. And it came back to us that, you know what? The board now says no to a payback agreement, but they're still interested in the special assessment district. And we got comments from your attorney, or however it works, wherever the comments come from, on the actual content of the consent judgment. We revised the consent judgment. Again, we accepted most of your comments. And that's when we came back to the last meeting where we thought we finally had resolved it, answered all your questions, and then we're surprised that it was tabled that night. And then the next time you went into closed session and came up with your current position. Then I will say that the consent judgment we presented, the amended consent judgment, it wasn't a unilateral document. It's not like we drafted it up and just presented to you, take it or leave it. It was a negotiated document that contained revisions that were suggested by the township's representatives in that regard. So we're here because we spent, almost 2 years on this. We understand your position. You're not conceding that anything was improperly designed, or that the water system wasn't adequate as it was designed and installed. We're adamant in our position that it was. I mean, and so we've tried to come up with fair resolution of this in a manner that really didn't hurt the township, wouldn't have you going out of pocket in any way, but would help us. Because again, you add all these costs, they're just going to go to the homeowner. I mean, you know that. I mean, if you add $2,000, $3,000 a house just because of one particular issue, that just increases the cost. I mean, so that's the history. That's where we're at on this. And we're frustrated that we've really looked at a lot of different ways of handling it that would result in no negative impact to the township. And that's why we thought, at your suggestion, that a special assessment might work. that was a good solution. And we looked at of course, even before we go into this, we looked at your bonding capability and your ability to do this. Do you have a lot of assessments out there? What's the situation? It looked like it'd be doable, be fine. It wasn't an issue as far as we could tell. And I had one of my municipal bonding attorneys who does this for municipalities look at everything for the town on our end for the township, because we want to make sure it works too. And then we were ready to go. I mean, if you had approved this amended consent judgment, we were working on the numbers, the engineering to go to a special assessment. So what's the answer? I mean, there's a couple answers to this. I mean, depending on what the township's willing to do. Special assessment is still, I think, an appropriate way of dealing with it. We can talk a little bit more specifically about caps, numbers. So exactly, right now it's not really identified in the consent judgment. It's sort of open-ended in that regard. What are the numbers? What does it cover? What's the maximum amount the township would bond for, provide? We could talk about that. I still think the solution, one of the early solutions that will pay for the increased infrastructure and not get any payback agreements or anything like that, but still get a credit against water taps. I mean, there's got to be a win-win solution here that's going to be good for the township, allow the development to go forward, be reasonable for the homeowners, because again, we're struggling, and in this whole delay and all the money we spent even on this one issue, we're struggling to come up with a development that is financeable and could provide housing within the range or the price range that we're targeting. I did a development, right around COVID that was a really nice development, for, single family homes, but for empty nesters. And we had targeted, the whole plan was for $400,000, thereabout units. By the time they went and sold them, they were $630,000 and up. And people were paying for it. I mean, because they had no choice, because that's what the market bore, but it's getting really hard. So we've never had an adversary relationship with the township in this, at least Norfolk hasn't, to my knowledge. So I want to make it very clear with this consent judgments that we're talking about, they didn't originate from Norfolk. They've come in, they've done a good job. They're trying to create a community that meets the master planning goals and objectives of the township. You have a water system that sorely needs users and to pay for ongoing utility costs. So that's where we're at. As to the other couple issues that came up for the first time, never really discussed until we saw them regarding the clubhouse and pool. It has always been, we've put it in both the condo documents and the site plan that it was an optional idea, and it would depend on what the market really required, and the market doesn't really require a clubhouse and pool. I mean, a lot of people don't want that now. It's very expensive, so it adds to the cost of the homes, and then you have to continue to maintain and operate it with assessments over time. This is anecdotal because you don't know. Assume I'm telling the truth because I don't lie. I was just telling Rob that I have a second home that I bought during the recession. I share with another family in a ski area because I ski, and these are nice single family homes, and there was going to be an optional clubhouse and pool, and we all got together and just said we don't want it. I mean, we can afford it, but we don't want a clubhouse and pool. We don't want to pay the assessments, and they ended up just taking that property and turning it into another single family home site. So there was never it's not within the pro forma right now to put that in. It could always be put in. There's the space for it. There's a location for it. And the same thing with the trail. Rob, you could talk more about the trail. That's been a subject that's been discussed with the city of Chelsea for a while. And it's part of the city's plans. And it's a very expensive and difficult trail system to put in. And if they do it, and if they get financing for it, we've committed that we would give them the easement. The easement on our property, it's not just our property, but we would provide them that easement. And so we've worked cooperatively with them on that, but we weren't intending to put in that trail at this time on our property per se. So it came out of the blue. You know, you could talk, Sean, I say Rob, why do I keep calling you Rob? That's Rob. It's just one of those things. Sean could, if you want to hear more about that, exactly what's going on with the trail and the city of Chelsea, you know, maybe you could mention that so you can consider that issue if you go into closed session at all. You want to say anything about it? Yeah. Or if I've missed anything, I'm not, you know, I'm not sure what the exact answer is. We want to resolve it. But we also think that, and have been adamant that this is an issue that not caused by this board. I mean, whoever did this, the issue that we're addressing occurred years ago by other people. So we're all sitting here left to resolve it, right? in some kind of fair manner, that, you know, addresses your issues and addresses our concerns as well and cost issues. About it.
All righty, Sean LaFear with Norfolk Homes. And I'll just kind of touch on the list that we received that had all of the different items that were added on the last meeting here. The first one, with regards to the special assessment district, I think Alan already covered that one in detail. The second was to require the clubhouse to the pool. Again, Alan, I believe, covered that one. I do have the documents out of our existing master deed and bylaws that state that it is an optional. So for the 60 residents that are already there, it was never promised to them. It's in their documents that it could be brought up. I believe somebody last meeting said, you know, hey, the residents were told that that was going to be built. It's not. Here's the documents out of the master deed. Site plan revision at the park to be shown in part 5A. I guess that's almost a question. The park is open space. There's no amenities in that. So I guess that's part of 5A. I don't know why it needs to be in there, but it's on the site plan. So it's really kind of a moot issue. Requiring the trail connection to the border-to-border trail in phase 4D. We've been working with the city of Chelsea and the border-to-border trail for years. Matter of fact, back in 2018, we were involved in a lot of meetings. They were in the process of getting grants for the funding and came to us. They had proposed connections to the border trail. They wanted us to, or wanted the Westchester neighborhood to be able to connect to it. So we looked at a number of different connection points, and we agreed, yes, you know, we loved it. We think it's a huge benefit. Absolutely. We're, you know, what can we do? We wrote a letter in support of it that, you know, hey, we'll support in a way we can. We'll give the easements to it. The city and their engineers, they've actually, the whole Letts Creek design that kind of spurs from, is it Timbertown, the park that comes down. So that trail's been engineered. There's the expense part of it. There's wetlands they got to cross. There's a bridge. They've got to build a bridge over Letts Creek. That has all been designed, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't talked to see where they're at with funding for it, but our point to them was absolutely, we'd love to do it. We'll give you the easements, but you know, this is part of their grant money. They've got money to go obviously from one side of the border to the other. So where it says our requirement to build that, I just want to be clear that we'll give the easement when and if it ever comes. If this never comes to fruition, you know, there'll be just an open space there on that. Site plan revision required to strike the booster station, the words complete. That's not a problem. We can do that. Require final site plan subject to administration approval, compliance with laws, ordinances. I believe that's already in there, but I mean, that's already covered in the original consent agreement. Um, indicate phasings will occur in numerical order. This is one I just would, again, the phasing is designed from an engineering standpoint. The water system from phase 3 goes to 4, 4 goes to 5. But I just want to make sure we're clear that they are, each product is its own phase. So there's a phase 4A, a 4B, a 4C, a 4D. I think E was the city parcel, but there's an A, B, C, and D, which represent the 4 different product types. The market will dictate what product sells faster. So if the single family continues to be strong, we have to go from phase 3 to 4 to 5, and the duplexes are very slow. That one may stay at phase 4. It may not advance to 5 until the market demands it. But all the phases are self-sufficient. They all kind of stand on their own phases, but they are, when we say they'll go in different orders, it's A, B, and C may not always go A, B, C, D together. And again, the engineering dictates how things are built on that, which again, the engineering is always reviewed administratively by your engineers. That's no change from the original consent judgment. And then revisions to the Exhibit B's submitted consent language provided adherence subject to final approval of the township attorney and planning staff. I'm not sure who the planning staff is, but obviously your attorneys have to, they've always approved the amended consent judgment, as well as, I believe they've always reviewed the master deeds as well. So I just wasn't clear on what is the planning staff in that comment there. But I think that covers all the other items that were on there. If you have any other questions, or Alan, if you got anything else to?
With respect to any of the items, for example, like the commitment to provide an easement for the trail, I mean, we can reflect the commitment in this amended consent judgment, even though right now it's a commitment to Chelsea. I mean, we can provide it in writing here. So if that was something that the board was interested in. As to phasing, we can articulate that a little bit more clear, because I'm sure Rob's got a lot of experience in putting language together like this. I have too. Typically, when you deal with phasing, it's pretty flexible. I mean, phases can go numerically or even multiple phases at the same time, depending on demand. And so there aren't even phases. The key is what happens when you're doing the phasing, and the typical language that we would have, makes it clear that every phase stands on its own, so that if for some reason a phase doesn't get built for 20 years, I mean, God forbid, I mean, those things happen. A lot happened the last big recession, that everything stands on its own in that regard. So it doesn't look like you're tearing up the whole land. And the idea of doing phasing too, compared to the old days, is instead of coming in and grading out the whole piece of property for the entire development, then it sits there, half of it, for 20 years because they don't get to it. We don't do it that way anymore. So, but we can articulate that in the document to make it clear if it wasn't clear before. I can't remember. The one thing about the amended consent judgment is it refers back to some of the terms of the original consent judgment that may include things like phasing. But if not, we can modernize that and put it in the amended consent judgment on issues like that. Just want to let you know that anything could be documented if it's of concern. Thank you.
Board have any questions at
I
this
do.
time? Any input from that?
Sean, I want to ask you, when did Norfolk purchase the property? And so are you aware that when this was originally designed, you know, I know Mr. Green spoke about when the township designed this, the water system for this property, are you aware that there was a 12-inch line that ran through from the south to the north on Westphalia Drive? Initially, that was what was proposed.
The original, there was stormwater to the property.
But we have plans from 2004, I think they're 2005, that show that Westphalia Drive was supposed to have a 12-inch line running through the entire project.
Yeah, so it's typical to run into the, I believe we went back in ours, that you would run a 12-inch to the adjacent property. The difference in what we've engineered versus running a 12-inch to the next adjacent property, is all the 12-inch loops that came along with it.
Guess I didn't see the loops and it was hard to see because we didn't have the consent judgment in front of us for a while, so you were changing it to put 12-inch loops.
Recently,
in.
just with the new,
Right, so, but not back when the consent judgment, well, I'm looking, there was a 2008 plan that was accepted and,
12-inch.
so that, but it was removed in the consent judgment plan. Yeah. Yep,
So that there would be a 12-inch going along there. and I
Right.
believe- Next farm.
right, no, I was pulling out the original plans, I mean, it looks like,
Next to that, we were here, I mean, they were gonna develop that, so that 12 inches can go up and serve all that area, that big
Right.
farm. That went back there, that was gonna be a giant development there. So the 12-inch there, the difference that in our current plan is, we have 12-inch maintenance. Like right now, we can take our 12-inch and run it down. James from but where the Bush Road comes in, so that would connect to. the
right,
Property to the north. But in order to make the system work, we had to go into, in order to get rid of the booster station, put 12-inch, all the little feeder loops, they're typically 8-inch, we had to upsize those,
Right.
to
Yeah.
12, and is what you were here to discuss.
yeah, no, I'm aware, was just asking if you were aware that initially when this system was designed, there was supposed to be a 12-inch running.
There-
along Westphalia Drive.
12 inches.
Yeah, it's stubbed onto the property, right? Yep, it's shown, I guess you can kind of see that it was there. And then I just have one more question. If we approve the additional 31 units, how much profit do you think that Westchester or Norfolk would gain with us approving 31 more units? I mean, it'd be significant, millions of dollars.
No. I love millions of dollars on 31.
Okay.
It helps spread the cost, it helps reduce pricing, it helps lower cost for everyone.
Right. Thank you.
Have you done an engineering design for the additional 31 units?
Engineers that look at
Oh, well, I didn't know about the additional units until I saw the amendment come through, which was fairly recent.
this amendment's been in front of you guys. Plans are dated, November 30th.
So when you went with the additional 30-some units, did the design of the water system change at all? Well, prior to you wanting 31 additional units, there was an.
We had 330.
I'm just trying to clarify my question. Before you wanted to put in 30 additional units, you had a water system designed there. And that's never passed engineering review. Then I assume you redesigned the system to accommodate 30-some more units. That would have required a complete redesign of the entire system, I would think.
Redesign wasn't redesigning the water system, redesign was redesigning the entire site plan to accommodate 4 different products.
Okay, so even though 30 additional units would require the water.
I mean,
You know,
the
didn't-
the original, you can go back and look, you guys have passed the original special assessment district. It's got the original, there, you had 640 some units for that, those two pieces of property up there. So the original design for the property that you guys passed through Water Special Assessment District placed on those two pieces of property were over 600 some units on it.
The engineering firm that did your design work, it doesn't seem like they've ever sat down with the township's representative engineering firms to discuss, you know, the modeling. I mean, we're talking about a rare circumstance when there's a fire event at the fire hydrant at the very end of the property, not having adequate pressure. It seems like you'd get the two engineering firms together and make sure everybody's using the same criteria, the same assumptions. Because if our engineering firm, the one that represents us, if they would said, yeah, the water pressure is fine, we wouldn't even be here. Right? It's just that one hydrant at the end of a line that, but yet your engineering firm has never sat down with with our engineering firms to sort of have a meeting to talk about assumptions.
Back, look at all our tables there, our engineers have spent numerous meetings, I've got in utility. Bob, how many times is our engineer met with your engineer, Ted, and numerous times?
And there's complete agreement on the model. Yep, the 8-inch line doesn't work. We have complete agreement with all these engineering firms that 8-inch is not adequate, doesn't meet the 10 standards design.
That the 8-inch that we need to upsize to the 12-inch on all the little loops. Yeah, that we, Bob, I want to speak to your utility guy, but they had, the original was doing a booster station there. And utilities didn't want the maintenance of the booster station, so the engineers, our engineer, your engineer, not only your engineer, you had two of them, you had MCI, and you had, I feel. So you had two of your engineers plus our engineer work together to come up with the solution of, well, let's upsize all these extra pipes to accomplish that. So you're right, we worked with two of your engineers.
When Norfolk purchased the property, I assume you would do a due diligence on a big purchase like that. You would go through and you'd look at all the utilities, electric, gas, because the value of that property would be impacted by the utilities that are there. So Norfolk had to do the due diligence. And when they would have done that, they would have seen that there's where the line of demarcation is for the municipal water system versus the developer taking over, that's a 12-inch line right on Kavanaugh Lake Road. The due diligence would have shown you that.
Due diligence would have said that.
Right.
Most municipalities that you've ever been in, you've got a special assessment district that is still sitting out there that hasn't even been used yet. You got a 12-inch line there. The engineering was done for it. Why wasn't an engineer part?
So you did the due diligence, you understood there was a 12-inch line that terminated here. And then when your engineering firm did their initial design, they would take that into consideration as their design basis. That's how they would start their design. They would say, well, there's a 12-inch line here. This is the basis upon which we're going to design the rest of the system. If they come back with an 8-inch line and our engineering firm says that doesn't work, then those two ought to get together and figure out, are we all talking the same thing here? But I mean, you guys knew there was a 12-inch line. You knew it was the design basis, and you told your engineers to build a system that's less expensive, downsize the line, and then it didn't pass the engineering review. That's how this is played out. And now you're asking the taxpayers to pick up the cost of it. And the other thing, you know, this trading of tap fees, that's potentially illegal to do that. Because we have ordinances that say tap fees have to go towards payment of the bond. So, you know, we're willing to entertain ideas and then we go and evaluate those. But if we find out that they're illegal or that they're going to hurt the taxpayer, then it wasn't a good idea to start with.
Like,
Those are all the questions I have.
All right. Are there any more questions from the board? Do we want to talk with Rob Thal in a closed session,
I think
or do we
that's-
have questions for him right now?
No, in a closed session.
So he provided us all a memo this morning, and I know there's usually a motion in there. That's someone could do.
I move that the township board convene a closed session under section 81H of the Opens Meetings Act to consider material exempt from disclosure by state statute, section 13(1)(g) of the Freedom of Information Act, being a letter from its attorney dated March 24th, 2024, for the reason that the letter is exempt from disclosure under state law due to the attorney-client privilege. That's the motion.
Thank you, Kurt.
Second.
Nope. All right, Sandy supports. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Thank you. We'll adjourn closed session at 10:45. So shall we? Yes, thank you.
need to
Oh,
amend it.
Bob. I was working
Good
on
try,
it
good
tomorrow.
Will you amend your motion, please?
Would you like to amend your motion, Kurt?
Yes.
Invite, Bob Skull to the closed session, and you're agreeable to
Yes.
this
Yes.
amendment? All right, all in favor of the amended motion, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed, say nay. Okay, thank you. Okay, shall we adjourn back into the other at 11? Does anyone have a motion?
I will make a motion. Motion to reconsider prior action by board regarding Westchester project as follows. Developer will leave the option for clubhouse and pool, but is not required with regard to park in the special assessment. It will remain open space. 2, Westchester easement language allowing for the B2B trail if it comes to fruition. 3, add standard phasing language rather than required phasing language. Number 4, require township engineering approval of updated water infrastructure plan showing proper water pressure within the development. 5, we will allow for PA 188 Act Special Assessment District to spread the additional cost of water infrastructure improvements only as needed to provide necessary water pressure throughout new phases, with the understanding that township will not be financing the project through bonding or otherwise. 6, the developer will be responsible for paying upfront costs to be recovered through the special assessment district. And 7, revisions for revision to finalize the amended consent judgment are subject to township attorney approval.
All right, thank you, Rod. Motion by Rod. Is there support for that? Support. Thank you. Support from Sandy. Is there any discussion? All right, just do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. And you will note in the minutes that trustee Kosick had to leave during the closed session, please. All right, thank you. Yes. That was number 6.
The developer will be responsible for paying upfront costs to be recovered through the special assessment district.
So 5 and 6 almost kind of go
Yeah.
together a little bit. All right, thank you very much. So that concludes that item of business on our agenda, I believe, and we can move on to our budget approval for fiscal year. Thank
Welcome.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Bob's leaving too. Okay, so we have the uh, General Appropriations Act. This will be a resolution, Amanda, so we'll need to give this a resolution number. You want to go after the salary resolutions and number it
If we did that, it would be 07.
07? So resolution 2407. You should have it in your packet that I gave everybody, like, a little stack of papers.
I might, and I just.
Here,
Oh, there it is. Thank you.
you're welcome. I think I fixed all the dates in here. I pulled this from last year, a couple of years ago. So it's our standard one we do, title, administrative officer, fiscal officer, public hearing. I put in the date of our public hearing and when it was published in the newspaper, estimated revenues, millage levy that we talked about, updated department expenditures. I did not put in an amount for transfer to water fund. We don't know what that would need to be at this point. And then I believe we left, there's a section in here about the supervisor having transfer authority. Okay. And then I believe Amanda had that 10% of the department added that we had from last year. Okay. All right, so if everybody has reviewed the General Appropriations Act, we'll have a motion and a second and take a vote on it. So I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 2407, which is the General Appropriations Act of Sylvan Township fiscal year 4/1/24 to 3/31/25.
I'll second.
You. And Brianna, is there any discussion? Roll call vote.
Sandy,
Yes.
Rod,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Amanda, yes.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Motion is carried and the resolution duly adopted on this 25th day of March, 2024. Good. Hooray, everybody. Good job. That was a long budget. Time that probably should have started a couple months earlier. Every year, I feel that way. Then also we have here, kind of part of our resolutions are our salary resolutions. I suppose well, no, yeah, we need to do these, yeah, today.
I don't have my budget in front of me to confirm what we.
What here, I got my computer with me, so.
You just, isn't it right in here?
No, that's the total. for
No,
the
that's
department.
like the
That's
whole
not-
department, that's not. the
Oh, gotcha.
supervi- That's not the salary one, but let me, what's the first one here? So the township trustee. Was this per trustee or the two of them together? How was this worded? For the okay, so just individuals.
Individual.
So we budgeted 13,215 for the two of them, so it's gonna be 13,215 divided by two, $6,607.50.
6,000, what was it?
6607.50.
We need to go 6,608.
Well, then we're gonna increase, then we're gonna be a little over on our,
We're going 6,607 and 50 cents.
yeah, I mean, yeah. If we round it up, we're gonna be over budget because we just approved it. Okay. Do we want to do these as we go, or do we want to go through like Okay, so consider this resolution.
I think we need to do them individually per these resolutions.
Right, but I mean, do you want to do this one now and then move on to the next one, or do you
They
want to
go through
fill in
them.
the salaries on all of them and then go?
Fill in the salaries because you have that open.
Okay,
Yeah. might as well put it on.
all right, so township clerk,
That- oh,
so,
now it- Well, 03 is supervisor. Oh,
oh. Man, I don't, oh, there's, oh, three, I'm sorry, mine are out of order, okay. So the supervisor was, oh, hang on a second, where's the, I just have what the amount we put in there for, so. Let's see, 3, 4, 8, 9, 3.
35 something.
Yeah, I know, 893 plus 3.1%, or did we do 3%?
3-1.
I think we did 3.1. Okay, hang on, my bad. 4,893 plus 3.1%. 3,597.5.
36,000.
Right, so this is 35,975 is what the salary is. So we did 36,000. The budget's not a mandate to spend. We knew it was gonna be 25 or $20 a little bit over what we budgeted. But the salary, my understanding was the salary was gonna be the 3.1 increase, which is $35,975.
And then we said in the meeting, we'll round it to 36,000.
Does their budget accommodate 36,000?
Mm-hmm. I thought it. I
Did-
mean,
were
that
we
was what
rounding
we
up the-
Intended it to
Yeah.
be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
36,000
all right.
for the treasurer and the supervisor.
All right, well then 36,000 for that. It does. I'm just gonna fill in my treasurer one, since we got it
Okay.
here, because that's there. Clerk. And so this year we weren't going to do the stipend. We were just gonna roll that all into the,
Right.
right? And so we came up with,
Yeah.
47,500 is what I've got here is what we budgeted.
Okay, I don't remember that. I knew it was around there.
Let's see, 40, so let's see, I think it was.
No, I mean, I'm okay with
Oh,
either of those. It can be 47,000, I don't care.
So we had, let's see, 41. 41 is a base, and then we built in 2 elections.
Right.
So it was 40.
So I think it
41
was a
plus
matter of if
2.
you applied the 3.1 to the stipend or not, which I'm fine not applying it. It's just, you can,
Right, 3,9,884. Plus 3.1 is 41. 41,120 plus 6,000 would be 47,120. What did we budget? 47,500.
let's just do 47,000. I'm fine with that. It'll be under a little bit. That's fine. 47,000.
Okay. Okay, 47,000 for clerk. Is that all of them? Then okay.
And then a long list.
And I don't,
Yeah.
so I know in the past you hadn't done it this way. I gave this as an option. If we want to do this next month, we can as well.
We could, I think in the past, we've done just like a sheet that the supervisor signed with the new wages on there. Cause yeah, we would have to sit and crunch these out right now. So.
I would
we'd
say let's,
Deal with
I
that.
mean, I would like to have it in a resolution because then it's a part of our minutes. It's formalized. We can add the additional sheets that you sign if you want, the documentation, but it would be good once we have those to actually have them in a resolution.
My only concern with the resolution is like the receptionist. That person will get hired more often than every 4 years. Like we have to have resolutions for our salaries. Susan might switch out within 60 months and then we might not hire someone at that position at Susan's rate because Susan's been here for 10 years. So then if we hire someone new and pay them less, we need to come back through and do a new resolution in order to effectuate that change. And that's only my concern. I like what you're saying about making sure it's preserved in the minutes, saying, you know, these are the salaries people will get, but I think if we set by resolution, we might be doing a lot of resolutions. Our salaries cannot change, correct, right? Within our term legally, for our hired people, it could change. But-
Go through these other resolutions then. Go.
Okay, all right. All right, so I think I'm supposed to read these resolutions, but they all say the same thing. So I'm gonna do offer Sylvan Township Resolution 2402 to establish the salary for township trustees. The Sylvan Township Board, majority vote at a regularly scheduled and duly noticed meeting this 25th day of March 2024 sets the salary for township trustee at $6,607.50, effective April 1, 2024. I'll offer that motion.
Or
Thank you. It looks like these are all roll call votes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Rod,
yes,
Kathy,
Yes.
Amanda, yes. Absent.
Okay. Sylvan Township Resolution 2403. Whereas the Township Board does not hold an annual meeting, the salary shall be determined by the Township Board and open board meeting. Therefore, be it resolved, the Sylvan Township Board by a vote of the majority at a regularly scheduled and duly noticed meeting this 25th day of March 2024 sets the annual salary for the Township Supervisor at $36,000, effective April 1, 2024.
support,
Right,
Sandy,
Yes.
Rod,
yes,
Kathy.
yes. I will make a motion to approve Sylvan Township Resolution 2404. Whereas the township does not hold an annual meeting, the salary for officers composing the township board shall be determined by the township board at open meeting. Therefore, be it resolved, the Sylvan Township Board by a majority at a vote of the majority at a regularly scheduled and duly noticed meeting this 25th day of March 2024 sets the annual salary for township clerk at $47,000, effective April 1, 2024.
support,
Sandy,
Yes.
Rod,
yes,
Kathy,
Yes.
Amanda, yes.
All right, and I will make a motion on Sylvan Township Resolution 2405, a resolution to establish salary of township treasurer. Therefore, be it resolved, the Sylvan Township Board by a vote of the majority at a regularly scheduled and duly noticed hearing held this 25th day of March 2024 sets the annual salary for township treasurer at $36,000, effective April 1, 2024.
support,
Sandy,
Yes.
Rod,
yes,
Kathy,
Yes.
Amanda, yes.
All right, those are the salary resolutions. And then we need to look at the I'm gonna, just because we had so many papers, I didn't wanna throw more on you, but this is what we can use for a budget amendment. Whoops. You can hand that to Sandy, and then I can have one for you. This will be resolution 2408. Is that correct? Because we did 7 for the, okay. So I'm gonna need to look at.
So there are three departments that are over currently: information and technology, the cemeteries, and then the water fund. It is in general government.
General government, okay, wow. Mhm. So information technology is over by about 3,000. Cemetery is over by about 1,000. And then the water fund is it's 8,000, well, 7,300 over. Hmm. And we could reduce the supervisor department because I have not had a deputy this whole year. It's $5,444. So since the water fund is short, do we need to find, I guess we'll just find that money in the general. We're not gonna find that money in the water anyway.
What did you say for the supervisor? What could you?
The supervisor, I'm offering the deputy services, because some of these are under budget, but there's still another pay, right? So the treasurers will probably be,
Rod, I feel like your deputy probably won't, you won't even come close to what we budgeted for. you.
No, she won't.
We could take it out of.
but how, I mean, we budgeted,
See,
where are we at? 16 and she's at. Oh, I see.
each is on.
In the page 2. We could reduce the supervisors.
You're saying 5,444.
I mean, really, we could just take it out of there. I'm not gonna hire a deputy in the next week and we're done. So
5,000.
that would cover, yes, 5,000. I mean, there's no monies coming out of that. So that entire bucket can go towards.
You can take 5 out of hers easily.
All right,
So there's 10,000 right there.
treasurer deputy, okay, 10,400. And what do we need?
How much does that leave?
73 plus 1,000 plus 1,000. We need 11,300, so we need another 1,000.
I think you can take another 1,000 from her.
And if we're at the end of the. we're at the-
Yeah, cause it's just
Yeah.
this payroll and that's it. So if we took 6 away from her, that would leave 6,000 in there and she's at 4,300. So that, I think that's pretty safe.
Okay, so we're gonna decrease the deputy budget by how much? 6,000?
6,000.
What was it originally?
Um,
16,
yeah, it was-
333. Okay. So then we're gonna so we'll decrease the supervisor deputy and decrease the treasurer deputy and increase.
Increase information and technology.
By 3,000.
Increase info technology. Do we need to do a specific line or can we just increase by department? Really?
I think so. We're-
Because we're
it's the-
removing from specific lines. Can we, okay, we'll increase the tech department by 3,000. And then we're going to increase cemeteries by 1,000. Okay, hang on a second. Let me go back to,
Water general government.
yep, give me the, hang on, honey. So we were at 6.
Department 261, general.
Yep, and what were we looking at there?
73.
Ugh. All right. So increase water budget, general government by 7,400.
300.
Well, we were
I
302.
would go, I would go, and again, I don't know if we have I don't know if I have invoices still coming this week. I don't. We've done everything that we have.
If we do, we may have to revisit then.
All right. So.
Do we have enough to make it 7,500 though? I didn't do the math that you guys were taking out. Give me a little bit of room.
Let's see, so we've increased by 10,444. We decreased. Let's see, 3,000.
How much did we take from deputy?
6,000.
That would give us 11,444 then.
Yep, and we need 11,300.
300.
what I had
If,
here.
if you need more, we can take more from deputy.
I'm just saying, if
I
if
think-
we gave it a little pad, it would just be, we're not having to revisit this.
Instead, so increase it 7,500
Take
instead.
another 500 from deputy.
Okay, so 6,500 would give us 11,944.
So this was, okay, 16,333, I'm gonna take that out. How much, Rod, were we gonna decrease your deputy here?
Another 500.
So
1,500 total.
Yeah, cause she was 16,3. We still have 12,000 minus one more pay. So
Okay, so we're reducing it to 9,833 and we're taking 6,500, we're taking 54, we're taking all of my deputy. And then increasing
So we're gonna increase information,
infotech.
3,000.
Yep.
Cemeteries, 1,000. And water general government, 7,500.
Okay. So let me so it's gonna be from 210 to 217,500. Technology is gonna go from 26 to 29. And the water. All right. Water's gonna go from 210. All right. Cemeteries was gonna go from 2 to. All right, what did we say this was, 2408? All right. So I'm gonna read this, Amanda, you tell me if this jives with what you've written down there too. At a regular meeting, I'm going to make a motion to pass resolution 2408, which is our budget amendment for fiscal year 2023-24. At a regular meeting at the Sylvan Township Board, Washtenaw County, Michigan, held at the Sylvan Township Hall on the 25th day of March 2024. A motion was made for the following, to decrease the deputy supervisor line by $5,444, to decrease the deputy treasurer line by $6,500, to increase to increase info technology by $3,000, to increase the cemeteries department by $1,000, and to increase the water fund general government department $7,500.
Support.
All right.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Sandy,
Yes.
Rod,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Amanda, yes. Motion.
All right. All right, public comment. Board of member comment, Board of trustee member comments. All right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 12:05, supported by Rod. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay.